It could
And
have been
okay,
fun.
we're here for Opium Awareness Month.
Oh
Uh,
my god.
hello everybody, welcome back to the Anime4ALL podcast. I am your host, the Game Hunter, with a Spirit Magic Helmet.
And I am not wearing any pants.
Good to know. We're here to review the Rurouni Kenshin anime. Apparently,
Sorry,
apparently, one of my hosts is pantless. Is going to be doing this. I guess we're going to this the pantless podcast. I don't know. I'm still wearing pants. I'm not. I don't feel comfortable not wearing pants.
Can we rename the podcast to Pantless for All?
Oh no. We don't want to send that message. At least I don't want to send that message. I don't want to send that message. No, how dare you?
Okay.
I don't think I can even change that like physically right now. I had to go into Photoshop, but no, twice on that.
It wouldn't be that hard to change it, would it? You just change the.
I mean, I had to open up Photoshop, and that's going to take a bit for me to even do that. And I don't even know if I still have the file for it. It's a thing. It's an ordeal. We're not going to
It
get
took us 65 minutes just to get going on the podcast. Like, what difference does it make at that point?
You don't know. It's an ordeal. It's like I'm gonna have to find out. I'm gonna have to reinstall Photoshop. I've had random issues over the years making graphics for stuff that I do online. I'm not gonna get into my 10-year plus spiel on that. I feel old when I say that I've been on the internet that long, doing different things, different people. But okay, we're here with the Anime4ALL podcast. We're gonna review Rurouni Kenshin episode 8, Beauty on the Run. I want to bring up. I'm not entirely sure if this was even part of the podcast last week. What?
I just want to point out I am wearing socks though.
Yeah, at least your heat's not leaving your body.
No, since it made you uncomfortable, I wanted to let you know I am at least partially clothed.
Wait a minute. You're not wearing any underwear?
What?
You say you have socks on, and you say you're pantless, so I'm assuming you're not wearing any underwear?
Oh no, I'm wearing underwear. Why would that be?
I don't know. You didn't specify. I don't know with you sometimes. You like wordplay.
I didn't specify anything about pants, but it just doesn't make sense for you to say that. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, some people go commando. You never know. I mean,
some people go commando, but like, why you just jump into it? Like, why?
I don't know. You say you were wearing pants.
You're defaulting to commando mode.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna move on. This is my fault. I apologize. We're just gonna move on. But Beauty on the Run is named episode 8. I want to bring up. I'm not sure this was even if I said this live or not, but I remember being confused at the fact that I was initially thought Beauty on the Run was referring to Kaoru. This character, for one, I just don't remember much of, but I do remember she existed. But the weird thing is I don't remember much about her or this arc that she's a part of. I looked up earlier when I found out about her again. She's important, but at the same time I was like, I don't remember this chick. I thought she was supposed to be maybe Sonosuke's love interest, but I don't remember the specifics. If that's even true.
You're interested right now, so based on the logic of this anime, that means she's going to be absolutely his love interest.
I mean, who knows? I don't really know. I don't remember. Because this is not the girl I was remembering. When, it wasn't like the one I was talking about. Like, I feel like just early for her. She's not the girl I was remembering. That's a totally different girl that I was like, that I probably remembered. And she's important later too. But this one I forgot about. Her role actually makes a lot of sense. As hopefully we'll get to that point soon. But I forgot all about her. And it's kind of funny. Because like she's cool, and her backstory is cool too, but I forgot she existed. I forgot Megumi existed. So yeah, it's like okay. I feel bad. I actually did feel bad because I was like, I thought she was kind of cool. She wasn't as important as Kaoru, but I found her pretty cool. But okay, really get to know more about her. The episode pretty much begins. At the end of the last episode, we see Jin, Kenshin remembering Jin saying that he's going to launch him from the edges of hell. I thought that was kind of interesting. He knew he wasn't going to heaven.
There's a hell edgelord.
No, why you do this? Why you do this? But he's not gonna watch you as you try to pretend that you're not the Hitakari anymore. And he's, I like how he says that as a fellow Hitakari, I'm telling you this, so you know it's true. I was like, but Kenshin is still like, we're seeing a little bit more of his character, and he's still fighting the whole idea of killing people. He even says that his vow as a Rurouni is to never kill again. I suspect him saying that means he's gonna have to kill somebody at some point.
Or it's gonna be like the game of the show is gonna be like seeing how far they can push him.
That's probably more of it. I remember certain bits of things that are important, but like as far as him actually slaughtering somebody, I don't remember that information. Hey, I mean it's cool. I don't remember that information. It means I can find out. But yeah, after that whole thing, Kenshin's still like dwelling on this, and then we return home. You know, everybody's happy. Kaoru's really happy. Then we cut to present day, and Kaoru is looking for Kenshin and has concern that he went wandering again. This
she immediately like goes her. It's like her default. Like she's like I think it reveals that she's been worried about this all along because she like goes up to the door and like knocks and is like, Kenshin, you there?
Well,
and he's not there. And she's like, oh my god, he's gone.
I think actually this is more just not really. I mean, it's a default for sure, but I don't think this is something that was initially her original worry. I think, and maybe this is the progression of what happened, is that when she first met him, she really had no connection. She didn't really care about him. I mean, she thought he was mysterious. She saw how strong he was, didn't really know anything about him. That attracted her to him, but not in the romantic way. And she got to know him as he started living with her, and eventually that led to a romantic interest because she spent so much time with him. She got to know him, and after her little nearly harrowing tale of nearly being killed, pretty much that's when she fell in love with him. And before all that, she wasn't all that concerned about him wandering. He mentioned that he was probably going to wander at some point again, and it didn't seem to bother her all that much. It wasn't really until she started developing feelings for him that him wandering started really concerning her. And she did not want him to disappear. I mean, I guess I also want to say too, not just her falling in love. I mean, before that, she even mentioned her being alone in the dojo again. She did not want that to happen again. So, a lot of that, she kind of became dependent on him being there, in a really weird way. But I'm pretty sure what that did, that evolved into her falling for him, which we see later on in this episode. That I honestly couldn't sit. I literally sat there as it was happening. I was like, I can't believe I didn't see this coming. They brought in another chick just to have this little situation pop up in the anime.
Younger, prettier.
Well, Megumi's older than she is, and that's obviously established from what I can tell. She's definitely older than she is. I'm not sure how much older than she is than her, but the older woman shows up. Huh?
Why does she refer to her as old then? There's like one moment where she's like, she refers to her as an old woman or something.
Megumi? To Kaoru? I think that was mostly. I mean, we see later on that she's really conniving and she knows how to talk to some people. I'm guessing that's just her trying to. I mean, from what I could tell, she was definitely poking fun at Kaoru because she probably could see that apparently she had feelings for him. She was just playing around with that because that happens a lot in anime where two women are in a scene, for whatever reason they decide to pull that joke of like, she's older and prettier and she has experience while this young girl doesn't. And it's one of those things they pull in the anime just for comedic relief, though it probably wasn't all that funny. But at the same time, I just like I can't believe I didn't see this coming. It was written on the walls. The cards were out there, and I just didn't see this coming. I was like, I literally sat there, and I was like, I can't believe I did not see this coming, because like it was obvious that they were going to do this. It wasn't even like it was a hidden thing. They weren't being shy about it. I mean, they literally have her running away from two guys with swords at the very beginning of the show, at the very beginning of this episode, and she's running away. But I also want to bring up too, and I guess this is also just the time period and whatever, but I first want to just address that she's running away from these two guys. She's very fast for one. Two, she's very nimble. I mean, she gets caught by these guys in a dead end and manages to escape anyway. These guys are very dumb. Well, one thing I want to bring up is like, I'm pretty sure you noticed this, and it hasn't really been something that's like really been, you know, at the forefront of your mind. The yukata, the dress that the girls are wearing. When I remember, because komodos and whatever, like clothing in Japanese for women is different. What I can notice sometimes, like, and it depends on the anime, but like sometimes women really have a hard time running. I notice Kairos has, you know, because of I guess how tight her, you know, her dress is on her. Like when she's stepping, she doesn't step too far away, or too her steps aren't like too far from each other. Like you can almost tell it's really hard for her to move in those things, and that's typical of fashion for women back then. But this girl, like, I had to look at her what she was wearing as she was running. Like, I'm guessing she did not have, like, that thing was not as tight as like Kairo's was, or it was just she was just very able to move. She was very nimble, and it didn't matter what she was wearing. She was gonna run. She was gonna get away. It's like I feel like the clothing would have been more restrictive for running away. I feel like she should have been tripping on herself more than she was, but maybe they didn't want to do that at the same time. I had no idea. It was like I was noticing how quick she was able to get away, and what I thought was a really form-fitting piece of clothing that was on her, but maybe that was not the case. Here she's wearing a
I
robe.
think I don't think this is specific to. You can get really gypped on functional clothing. I mean, there's dresses and then there's skirts and things that like you can't move around in a skirt too much because someone's going to be able to see up it if you like diving around or something like that. And you can't really be rough in a
Well,
skirt.
I'm talking about like
Where,
because like what they're
I know,
wearing.
I know, I know. What I'm saying is like it's very common for restrictive clothing. Heels, for example, like women wearing heels, like you can't run or move around in them. The custom of having women have tend to have long hair and men have tend to have short hair. Hair is like easy to grab and like get control of someone's head with. Excuse me. Mascara, like you can't sweat with mascara on because it will run into your eyes. Like there's a nails, like press on nails where you can't even type on a computer anymore. Excuse me. I think there's a lot of women's clothing just all throughout history that's just kind of like meant to kind of slow them down.
Well, I mean, I don't really think it was like from what I was what I was also trying to get at. I mean, yeah, I get that there's different times and different eras. There's just different things that women have to worry about when it comes to the clothing. But I'll say from what I can remember, I thought the yukata, like, first of all, usually, at least that's probably not what that is that Kara's wearing, because those are, I think, are usually, I think, or maybe I'm thinking about a different type of yukata, but like, usually they're worn during festivals or whatever. At least nowadays they are, because of how constrictive they are, because like it makes it impossible for them to really, they can't have long strides. In fact, they have to like scoot, you know, a little bit to even move, and they can't move that fast. When I remember
Yeah,
those, that seemed to be a typical thing, and typically in anime they have to move really fast. They usually rip those things from like their waist down to try to move, but it just, to me, it's like I don't. It seems. It's, I guess I was thinking about. It's like I feel like it's kind of weird, but maybe I was only thinking about it because of the main character girl. You know, she usually wears, from what I can tell, like her clothing is not meant for her to run in. Really, just she's really meant to look pretty in them. You know, that's just the era that they're in. But like she almost slipped what I knew about her. Megumi, I guess she didn't have that. She didn't have that tight, you know, flowing, you know, that tight, I guess, garment on her that she was only able to run. Like maybe it's not her normal, like I guess attire that she normally wears. And she was running away from a guy that apparently was using her to deal opium. Which you actually find out too that opium is in this world, and I forgot that apparently poppies are in Eastern world thing. Really funny that for, you know, to think that okay, one of the most sought after drug is actually something that's grown overseas and this gets ported over here and then gets sold for a lot of money. Um, but for all that, we see that she's running away. We see Sanosuke and Kenshin are at a gambling establishment for fun, quote unquote. He's just there to get money.
yeah, he totally is. But he does consider those people his friends,
Yeah, I know.
and
I mean,
decides he's going to stick up for them if something bad happens to them.
whoever kind of does. Uh,
It's interesting because one of the characters that gets hurt is actually named Tomo, which is the Japanese word for friend.
oh, that's cool.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Like they're there to gambling. Apparently, Sonosuke brought Kenshin along to predict what's gonna be underneath. Is gonna be the die's position. Um, I don't know if this is 100% true, but from the way it was like talked about in the anime, it sounds like Kenshin was using his sword fighting style to predict the role. I don't know if that's true or not, because his sword style was mentioned just by once, a little bit there, and I don't know if that was just maybe a slip of the tongue or whatever, or maybe the accidental translation. Um,
I don't see how the sword style could come into play, but I could see how he could like use the sounds of the dice and the thing like and visualize like where
I
they're
mean, I'm
gonna
not
end
saying like
up.
maybe using the sword. It's just like I guess maybe the style, because I mean the train and the sword style is you're not just using the sword, it's also using your body. But maybe when it senses, as you said before, maybe he was just really good at hearing. Um,
The other thing could be it could just be a straight up chi ability.
I mean, you say that, but why wasn't Sonosuke able to do that?
He's not as good.
Sorry, I'm trying to come up with a comeback and I'm drawing blanks. So you
Well,
win
he's
this
not
one.
as good. He's not as good as Kenshin. So you know what I mean. Maybe it's a high level ability. It seems like it should be a high level ability to be able to understand what dice are going to come up when you shake it and roll them out.
This is crazy that Kenshin's able. I guess it is maybe one of the reasons why Kenshin does not do this, because it's essentially cheating.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why he doesn't gamble, quote unquote. But because he would make a lot of money actually.
And they
He never
and they would
lose.
have gone very badly if they kept going on like that.
You never know. I mean, nobody would catch on.
No, because they're talking about it. They're sitting here
No, they're talking
saying,
amongst themselves. They're not like blurting this information out. Like forget, he goes and puts his arm around Kenshin and starts talking to him right in his ear. Like I mean, they're not talking about it out loud. Because I mean, one of them was like, "How are you doing that?" You know, like essentially, it's like they don't know how he's doing it. It's just like it's just crazy that he's able to do this, and he hasn't been wrong once. I have expected Snake Eyes not be Snake Eyes when he said it, but after that, Megumi just run. Well, we don't know what her name is yet, but Megumi runs in, like sees that Kenshin has a sword, and runs to him and then grabs him, saying, "Please save me from these men." And these men come up out of nowhere, actually say her name out loud, and then as they're about to attack, Prince Sonosuke runs up on him. Oh, I want to bring up before all this. Speaking of the opium thing, as they're gambling, he's wondering where one of his friends is. I think Tomo's the name of the friend. Finds out that he OD'd on opium, and he was very upset by this information. And Kenshin brings up that opium is a very expensive drug, so it's not possible for a ordinary guy to get like stockpile a lot of it or enough to kill him. So he was curious about this information. Fast forward, Megumi runs in, attaches herself to Kenshin, asks her to save him, and then those guys come in, and then Sonosuke just runs up and punches one of them in the face, saying like, "I'm not in a good mood right now. Don't you dare talk to me like that." And then as like the other guy is afraid and trembling, apparently nobody noticed this. I would say a rat-like man somehow snuck in from the ceiling. Apparently he's really quiet. Apparently he's a shinobi. We'll get to that in a minute. He somehow snuck in and he's in the corner just like Indian style, just laughing. And he for instance, like how she'll never get away, how Megumi never get away, and he tries to attack her, and then Kenshin uses the tatami mat and tries to block the drill bullet that he sent flying really quickly, and because it was a drill bit, it went right through the tatami mat. But then apparently find out after the tatami mat goes down that Kenshin used his sheath to block the two bullets. So we have a dangerous enemy amongst us right now.
yeah, why did he knock that thing up in the air in the first place, though?
To block it, I don't think Kenshin knew at the time that it was gonna go right through, possibly, but then realized that at the last minute that based on all this information, it probably was gonna go through. The
But if
guy
you could
wasn't.
block it, why bother like flipping up the floor? You lose your vision of the other person. The better option is to block it with your sheath either way, because you don't have to lose your lose sight of like your opponent.
Maybe Kenshin knew what he was gonna do because I mean that guy all he did was sit there and then fling rocks. It was like he was gonna get up and move. Though I mean there's no guarantee you would know that, but I mean, hey. It was probably just a reaction. Maybe he was trying to protect like the people behind him. He wasn't sure he was gonna be able to block it at first, so he used the mat to slow it down.
Okay. Or they could be deflected once they hit the mat, you know.
Well, I don't think Tatami mats are made of a material that allows that.
No, I'm just saying that like the trajectory of something, if it hits anything, like if it hit water, the trajectory could still change. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like even a solid. Like the trajectory of like those tacks that were being flicked could be deflected by anything, at least a little bit. And a little bit when it's going that fast can mean a lot of difference. And I don't know, you can't see them coming in, and you don't know exactly what they're going to do when they come out, and like it just seems like a foolish move compared to just blocking it with your sheath. I get it from a storytelling perspective. They wanted us to think, aha, like they went right through and he's in trouble, and then the floor comes back down and he's fine, and it's very dramatic. But it didn't make a lot of sense to me from like a storytelling perspective, like other than the dramatic reveal.
I mean, it was cool. It was cool either way. And then it happens. Sanosuke and Kenshin both hit him for a solid blow and then break his nose. Apparently, I was not aware his nose was broken until much later. But I mean, they broke his nose here.
And knocked him out.
Essentially, now like apparently Kenshin and Sanosuke are both in trouble with like the Kanryu army. Apparently, there was this guy on the outskirts of the city. Ironically, a lot of people seen it coming out from like this dark places in Japan for some reason. But there's this guy apparently that got rich really fast. Sanosuke appears to believe that he got rich underhandedly. We found out at some point like they're dealing with for some reason like they're connected with opium right now, and he like Sanosuke wants to avenge his friend that OD'd on it. Megumi says,
do you think his friend that OD'd on it was a drug dealer?
I mean, it's possible. I honestly believe he just bought all that because he wanted to get high. Most people, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure opium is like, I mean, it's a really addictive substance. I mean, at a certain point, you build up a tolerance. I mean, to anything, but I mean, opium, I suspect, will be really dangerous if you build up a tolerance to it.
This guy was called a quote unquote candy seller that died of taking too much opium.
Is he called a candy seller?
Yep. 5:35 into the episode. And remember, this guy, Sanosuke. I don't know why it took me so long to remember it. Sanosuke doesn't exactly keep like the most reputable friends. We know that he like hangs out on the edge of town. He's doing gambling with a bunch of them right now. Stuff like that. Like so, I seriously doubt if he's known for not keeping very reputable friends. And
I mean, he says that he. Why did he dabble in that? So some of he didn't. Some of Sanosuke believed this man was a good guy.
Candy seller that died of an opium overdose.
Candy doesn't have to mean drugs, and I don't see those words. Let me back up real quick.
5:35.
Well, I mean, that's insinuating that he knew, Sanosuke knew that he was selling opium or something, or drugs. The way that he was talking about, like, him and opium, why he getting into that, sounds like he did not know his friend was selling that.
Maybe not that, but maybe some other candy.
I mean, candy doesn't really necessarily need drugs. It could just be candy. I'm not gonna sit there and say that's not what, you know, that it's not referring to drugs, but it's like there are candy sellers in Japan who they actually make candy for a living. Sounds crazy, but apparently candy was a thing that was around this time period.
Yeah, I mean, candy's been probably around for a very long time.
I'm not gonna sit there and say that that's not what they're referring to. I just find it really freaking weird because, like, I mean, if he's selling drugs, in fact, why would they be shocked that he dabbled into opium? Or they're more shocked that he OD'd on it. Maybe that's what they're shocked by.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, and here, like when the show talks about opium and they bring up the history, which I think is mostly 100% real. I mean, I know opium's evil, and I mean, not evil, but opium is something that exists in our world and has destroyed a lot of people. And a lot of people have died, in overdoses. But it's like evil drug that could destroy an entire nation. They speak about like it's like a super bomb or something. I mean, what do you think about when they say it could destroy an entire nation? That's not something you could just say lightly about anything. But after they save her, Megumi pretty much asks for Kenshin's protection because she sees that he's really strong, and says that she'll pay them anything.
He's the only armed person in the room, and one of the only people that's not just dressed up in like wraps.
When she sees the sword, that's what most of she takes notice of. But she says she'll pay anything. Sonosuke gets really upset, wondering what her deal is, grabs her by the arm, and pretty much reveals that she has opium, or what looks to be opium packets, in her sleeve. Kenshin brings up, "Is this what you meant by payment?" As he's looking suspicious as well. He's looking at her suspicious now. It's her entire demeanor changes from helpless to now she's got an agenda. Again, I like that this transition of characters, like demeanors sometimes in this show, it's like really well done. It's not, to me, it doesn't seem like, you know, random. And sometimes it's like, you know, when it happens, you kind of don't notice it for a few seconds. It's like, oh snap, they just changed the way that they're handling themselves now. Let's see, you are the men of Conrio's Takata project. I guess some history about something about the army in real life.
Yeah, it's the character Conryu Takeda is based off of Takeda Conryu Sai's character, but I looked into the character and I really didn't see how it really connected very much. He was known not to be very good with a sword, and the guy, like when we do see him in the episode, doesn't look like he's great with a sword, and he's very knowledgeable in medicine, which I guess if you really stretch it, could be translated over to knowledgeable in the production of drugs. You know what I mean? Like illegal drugs. I thought it was interesting how much of a commentary they made about Megumi being not his woman, and being very clear on that, because he was said to be homosexual. You know what I mean? So, and he does see her as not like a sexual item, but like more like a golden goose, because her father, I believe, is in medicine too. And it was interesting in Wikipedia, where you don't usually see things like this very often, that they summed him up as remembered to be a rather pathetic villain, like really, really bad at being a bad guy. In history, his personal army was more like 160 people, whereas in this one they lay it out and it's much, much smaller. It's 10 gunmen, 10 swordsmen, 3 yakuza, and 10 pages, which turns out to be 33 men, but in history it would have been more like 160.
Well, I mean, based on one of the guys we see, the really tall gentleman we'll see later, I don't think they need that many men. Based on at least the way Kenshin was looking at him.
No, I don't think they need that many men either, but it was really interesting, especially It's especially interesting given that he has 33 men, and he killed 2 of them, like right there, like drowned them, in that later scene for just failing on their mission. So if you have 33 men, wiping out 2 of them just for not defeating such a powerful opponent seems like a waste.
Well, I mean, Gunryu doesn't know this. He's after Megumi, who, based on the way, at least for one, like how secretive she is, that at least what I can take from this information from her, seems like she's more involved in the medicine making. I say quote unquote medicine, medicine making than she's like letting on right now. And the way she's acting sounds like somebody who either peddles it or may have some she might be involved in the making of it, and it's possible
I think it's her father that's involved in the making of it, and then she's able to get it from her father.
I mean, it's either. I mean, we don't really know much about her because there's not much that's been said about her. We just know she's running away. But the way she's acting, it sounds like somebody's either making it or is peddling it. One of the two. And it seems like she's really important to him and as an object of producing this stuff than if he is in fact homosexual, as they say he is in real life. Though I mean, based on his looks, he probably could be. And this is not even a judgment. I'm just saying, like, based on like, if we're going with awful looks, he could just be. He looks like the type of guy that like would appear a certain way in real life, but when he's at home, well, not in real life, but out in public, when he's at home, maybe he's like a little more loose with himself, maybe. He also mentions that like that leader dude is like a lot more lenient on his subordinates than he would be, apparently, because we already saw that he killed 2 of his men for failing, capturing Megumi.
And yet he didn't send anyone to kill her. When he was flicking when the cat-eyed guy, Bashimi, was like going to attack her, he said he's going to attack her feet and crush her feet as punishment rather than killing her. So they need her alive. And they don't need her walking the streets, apparently, because they don't need her feet.
Yeah, she's really important for something. I mean, they like she is definitely important. But like after all that is like all that's brought up, we flick back to the dojo, and Kaoru and Yahiko are like at the end of that training session, and she's still worried about where he's at. And then Yahiko tries to reassure her about like, there's no reason to be concerned all that much. Like, well, if you're that concerned, there's another joke coming up. Joking coming 3, 2, 1. Why don't you just put a collar on him? And
how?
What?
How?
I don't know. But she puts a
no. I'm like ha. Like that's I'm being like woo.
But put a collar on her, and then she has this. Again, we're running with this whole thing that she's romantically interested in him, and they do this whole thing where apparently she has a kink. I'm guessing is what that is, because after she does that in her mind, she's like, "Oh no!" And then Yako's like, "Don't you oh no me?"
Yeah. And Yahiko also says, "Well, if they've been gone this long, they're either going to come back rich or in their underwear." So and then she dreams that too. No, I don't want to see that. And they were like, "Yeah, sure you don't."
I'm just gonna say, like, this is all written on the wall. That this was already there. Like this, it was like a couple of scenes back. It's on the wall. Why did I see this coming? I guess I hadn't respect for this show that I probably should have. But yeah, that happens. And she hears Kenshin come back, and another gag. She sees Kenshin with another woman. After all this, mind you, after the dog collar, after the underwear. I just don't know what they're doing anymore. But she comes home, and this is actually where I said I should have saw this coming. It's too late, we're already here. But she sees him with them, and then like Sonosuke has a great idea of like, he's like telling her the truth. It's going, dude. He's like, telling her the truth. Says that, they won her in a gambling, dude, because they couldn't pay up.
Hmm.
She takes this the wrong way, punches Kenshin in the face, and says, "I thought you were better than this," and then
Well,
comes out with,
Kenshin either lied to her or just admitted that he won a woman in gambling. So he deserves a shot in the face, as far as I'm concerned.
"But this wasn't his idea." Little Sonosuke. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like this wasn't his idea. It was all
She can
him.
still be, she can
Because
still be disappointed in him.
I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't already disappointed. I'm just saying that like what she doesn't know is really hurting Kenshin. But Sonosuke comes with the idea like he doesn't want her. You don't want to get her involved in all this opium talk. I'm like finding it really weird because at the end of the episode she's really involved now. But but you laugh, but it's true. But pretty much it's like Geigo says like, oh, he said they came out big. I was like, dang Geigo, why you like this? He gets upset
Right?
and then throws them all out. He's like,
Yeah,
get out and close the door. But before all that, I was going to bring up too that I
like they
guess
somehow forgot that they're like, you can't stop us, was basically their attitude. They somehow forgot that she owns the entire place.
but before she even flips out on them, like after like the whole lie that Kenshin has cooperated on, she for instance, I'm gonna scold him later. You don't have to. You don't have to be involved in human trafficking. Megumi, as I assume, is just wants to make fun of her because I'm pretty sure she can tell that this girl has feelings for this guy, and decides to pretty much hold on to him and just say, "I don't want to go anywhere. I need him for protection." I'm just like, why? I know why,
It makes
but
it so
why?
much worse. It
What?
makes it so much worse.
That's the whole point. She's teasing her, and I'm pretty sure that's what she's doing. She has no interest in him, and this is made clear after the fact. But I'm just sitting here, why? I know why, but still, why? It's basically my mindset right now. It's like, I know why, but why? It's just one of those. But after that, like they're still trying to get what in the world her connection with the opium is out, and she's being as obnoxious and stubborn as she possibly can, only getting information about how to protect her. Sonosuke, one of his friends, comes back from the doctor, tells him that they need to come to the bridge. This bridge, by the way, or this scene with this bridge in this river is very iconic because they keep on coming back here and using it.
Mm-hmm.
But we see the two henchmen, as we talked about earlier, are knocked out or dead, as we assume. Kenshin sees these two at the bottom of the river. These policemen are around looking at the crime scene, and Kenshin looks to his left and then sees three gentlemen. By the way, I honestly thought there was only two because I only saw Bishimi, the little guy with the cat eyes, and the tall dude who stood out like amongst everybody else. I did not notice that Kairon was there until he started speaking.
Was he there?
Yeah, he was there. Like, I mean, they literally said it was the guy with the glasses that was speaking to the tall guy. That was him.
Oh yeah.
They literally call him out. He's like, "Oh, he's here." But yeah, I didn't notice he was there until he started speaking.
Hania is the one that was there but seemed to be invisible.
Oh yeah, there was a fourth guy. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, he's the one that was apparently invisible. That's what I thought you meant for a second.
No, I did not notice Kyrian was there until he started speaking. To me, I didn't see him there because he blended everybody else. I didn't realize he was there until he started talking. But there's four people there. Sorry, my math is bad tonight. But pretty much like Kenshin noticed these guys over there. Really noticed the tall guy because he gets off a presence. And then Bishime, like as they're talking, as Bishime's talking, the tall guy who I forgot his name. I forget his name actually. Ayushi Shinomori. Ayushi Shinomori talks to Bishop. He said, like, "Is that the guy who broke your nose?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he knows, like, "Oh, he's here, along with Megumi and another guy." And then he's like, but then he asks the guy Hanya, who's in the background apparently, who we don't see. This is really weird. I mean, this leads into the whole idea that they're shinobi. But he talks to me like he's very hard to tail. Like, I mean, I was able to do it, but it took a lot of work to tail him. I'm like, geez, like, why was it that the other guy was able to tell him so easily, but you weren't?
So, Shinomori. Aoshi Shinomori was a historical figure again. He was based on Hijara Torizo, the vice commander of the Shinshigami. But again, it's like not the closest comparison I've ever seen. I mean, they got that he was tall compared to the
I
average
don't think. I mean,
Japanese
if I,
male
if I, you
figure.
know, I want to interject because I know it's going to probably happen a lot in the later portions of the show. I don't think the point is them taking the actual person and putting him into the thing literally as. I feel like maybe they're just this is historical figures he thought they thought they were cool. He wanted to put them into the show and then he just makes his own alterations to them. I don't think they were literally going
Yeah,
to be two to two.
yeah. It's just interesting that like he's tall, like they said, and he looks like he's meant to be good looking. He the real life character was said to be spoiled at an early age and was alleged to be mean to all but his friends and family. But this changed when he was a 20-year-old swordsman that he knew was killed for opposing the reformists and was forced to commit seppuku, not killed, but forced to kill himself. And then at that time, he cried in public apparently. But he spent his youth selling his family's sanyaku, which was a medicine for treating injuries such as bruises and broken bones, while still practicing his self-taught kenjutsu, which was like a sword style. But again, like the only real connection to the actual character in the show is really that like he has that connection to medicine. So it's almost like they pulled just a few like characters out that like had medicine like connections of one type or another. But he was also supposed to be the leader and leads a group from a separate and private army. Then why can't I think of the main villain's name? Kenryu Takada. Like he has his own special like section of it called the Edo Castle Aniwaban group, which was a group of former Omnitsu that Kanyu recently hired, like a type of spies, or today are referred to as shinobi or ninja. That group was also not necessarily like that in the real story, like in the real life. They were under the direct that group of people in real life were under the direct command of the shogun, were in charge of undercover intelligence operations. So they were spies more than ninjas. In actuality, their work consisted more often of reporting any news about the city of Edo to the shogun, or remaining incognito to inspect and report on the state affairs of the countryside.
Well, it's
They
mentioned
were
in the
actually
show that they were in fact part of the first were part of the shogunate. You continue. I'm gonna look this up real quick.
their activities were comparable to those of inspectors and general inspectors of the shogunate, and like under the direct orders of the shogun. But most historical plays and novels of the era depicted them as spies or ninjas. So, like in fiction, even of the era, like there's a tradition that continues to popular culture today was to make them look like they were spies or ninjas, rather than like informants or anything like that. As the Edo period could progress, the Iga and the Kogamano were tasked with less with intelligence gathering and more with like guard work and criminal capture. So like guarding the castle or like basically being police. Tokugawa Yoshimi established Oniwaban as an elite cadre of originally about 20 handpicked Onitsu, providing them with information about the daimyo, feudal lords, and shogunate officials, while also protecting high-ranking officials of the government and acting as security guards to the castle. So they were like very much like guards and bodyguards at that time. They were possibly quartered in the garden of the castle, which would connect to their name being, the Oniwaban of the Castle of Edo. So I thought that was kind of interesting, like a little bit of historical background of where these guys were kind of plucked from. Again, not like 100% accurate, but like it's kind of cool to see like what the real thing was and then how it kind of morphed into what it is in fiction today.
Here, even though it's fictitious, but they do mention that they were a type of spy active during the Edo period here, at like 1702. They say they're nowadays referred to as shinobi or ninja, so that's the fictitious part. Like they're the only Laban group that could speak English was a secret organization among them, working directly for the Shogun, comprised of those that excelled in combat tactics more than any other Onimitsu. So it sounds like even though this group is a lot smaller than the original group, the real group, mainly it's just because the small group has more. They're a separate group organization, but each person in this group is just got they're more excelling at combat than the others would be. So Onimitsu here is just more like, I mean, it's fictitious because it's not the real group, but like it's mostly just this group of people are like way more dangerous than like normal people would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of weird because here it seems like the leader is Genius Amensu, who became the head of the Edo Castle Open Onilaban group. Kind of speaks of them like a conglomerate. I don't think conglomerates have been around during the Edo period. I know the westernization was happening, so no. Oh Jesus! I just never realized Kelly is wearing a suit underneath that white coat. I just noticed this. I mean, it's not really a suit. I mean, it kind of looks like one, but like that little stripe on in the opening of his jacket, like if it wasn't already telling that it was like a suit underneath all that, it could look like a tie. But yeah. Apparently, I mean, this guy, I'm not sure how much of this is even true about the original guy, but Ayushi joined like right before the Meiji Revolution at age 15, so he joined very young, and I guess they're setting this up as this guy is really dangerous. And Kenshin sees him and is like, who is that guy? I don't recognize him at all. It's like this is like the first person that Kenshin does not know anything about. He doesn't recognize him by appearance.
I think the other guy knows about him though. Because there's a moment where he looks over at him and it's like, it couldn't be, or something like that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I was like, Benshi tells him that a redhead with a scar on his face beat his nose in, and he says, like...
No. I think Aoshi Shinomori at 1750, I think he looks at him, I think he recognizes him as Himura Kenshin. I think he recognizes him for who he truly is.
That's what I'm saying. What I was about to say was like, I mean, after Benji tells him that a guy with a red hair and scar literally beat his nose in, he looks back at him and he just says a red hair and scar. It couldn't be. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably recognizes the Batosai because I'm pretty sure the Batosai literally was told about how to have a scar on his face. I think that's one distinguishing features that I think was stated about him is that he always had like they recognized him. He had a scar on his face. The red hair is also a big giveaway because not many people have that color, but still.
I think he recognizes his true identity.
I mean, his true identity is the Batosai. That's what I just said.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's a problem. I mean, I'm speaking too fast, but I mean, yeah. I mean, he says that like red hair and scar couldn't be so. Yeah. I mean, I would believe that I mean, the freaking Manslayer, I mean, like, crying out loud, like, I mean, I find it hard to believe that you could, like, you would have to really go far away from all the news outlets to be able to hide yourself from, like, a lot of people noticing who the heck you are. Every now and then you probably run into some guy like this guy who recognizes you because he's heard about your appearance. In my opinion, if Kenshin really wanted to hide, I would, like, maybe dye my hair a different color. I mean, the scar you couldn't do anything with the scar, but at least the hair, So at that point, people say, "Oh, he's got black hair. He couldn't be him," and you walk off.
Yeah. I don't think he's trying to protect who he is. I don't think he's afraid of anybody.
I mean, he has no reason to be afraid of anybody, but at the same time, it's just like I feel like Kenshin knowing his reputation back when he was active, you'd think that maybe she's got people to protect now. So I'm like, he's got to know that eventually somebody will see him. You just like, maybe be the best to not be as like, he doesn't have to hide himself, but just don't be as like out in the open, like where people can see you. So just use that just in case some really talented assassin comes out of nowhere. By the way, we've already had it happen once, so I just feel like maybe he'd be a little more guarded. Then again, I mean, it wasn't like Cairo is near him. He apparently didn't notice the guy, Hanya, following him, or maybe he did. He just didn't care. He didn't maybe think he was much of a threat. It's probably one of the two. But
I think those are all fair points.
But yeah, I also want to back up really quick. I noticed she has something about Hanya being plucked out of history. I just noticed the sentence about the Elephant Man.
Oh.
And then I read underneath about the whole stomping his face in at birth. That's interesting. I didn't know Watsuki had different. I mean, I guess it makes sense. He had a different version of Sanosuke. So I guess like this character being different on the island set was probably. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You never know how many different versions of characters existed at the time. I mean, freaking Kenshin was supposed to be older, but then he was turned younger for the sake of being the main character. So.
Yeah, and again, it was a doctor, excellent in literary and military arts, but like they build him up as a gentle and taciturn man, and someone that they could trust to the end of their lives. And even though the real Yakumazi was not a ninja, he's depicted in anime, manga, and TV as a well-trained ninja, even though he wasn't like a ninja or even a very good swordsman or anything like that. In real life, he was more like a academic and a doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna happen a lot. Also, speaking of the whole like Ayoshi Shinomori being like really nice to his family and friends, it seemed like it was kind of the same case here with him. Granted, he did threaten Binshimi with death if he failed again. So I mean, he's willing to give chances.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think that part of the guy is still in the show, even if it is only you fail me one more time, I'm gonna kill you. I mean, it's there. I mean, the Kairu said that you're way more kinder to your underlings. He brought that up as something, I guess, something we need to know. It's like he's not as evil as he sounds or looks. Granted, all that aside, he doesn't really look all. I mean, I guess that's the purpose of it, because Kenshin doesn't look all that dangerous until he has to get into a fight. So it's like, obviously, it's meant to lure you in.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, I mean, obviously, he's not supposed to look dangerous until he fights. But again, he doesn't really look all that dangerous. I mean, if anything, his constant like poop face, are the only thing that makes him like really.
Did you just say poop face? His constant poop face?
Gotta move on.
Oh my gosh.
I'm serious. He's always mad. He's got this mean look at his face, like something's going on.
I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. That's all.
But Kenshin is like the Megumi lets him know about who he is. He joined when he was 15. He's like really dangerous from her perspective. Kenshin can, I guess, tell just from his aura, his swordsman spirit, I'm guessing, that like he's definitely talented, because he's more concerned about him than anybody else around, or even anybody else in the group, from what I can tell. He seems more concerned about that man in general. Again, I said this before, whenever Kenshin's probably concerned about somebody, we need to probably take note of that, because he probably doesn't do that. He doesn't do that like without like a reason. So,
yeah.
Like, I just want to really solidify that. Like, whenever Kenshin takes note of somebody and he doesn't seem to be like confident, I should like take that seriously. What the heck is this? It's probably, yeah, I noticed that he was really tall, and I feel like they did it on purpose. I swear he must be 6 foot. Yeah, his height was like really on purpose. Like, I mean, again, I think they wanted him to stand out.
Historically, he was supposed to be really tall.
Yeah, I buy that.
So that's I just thought it was historical reasons that he was so tall.
Yeah, Shimori recognizes Kenshin. We already went over that. Oh, then we go back to like the dojo. Apparently, Kairo has finally, simmered down. She cooled off. They're able to go back to the dojo, and for whatever reason, Kenshin decides to go into a room by himself with Megumi.
And talk.
Incoming stunt 3, 2, 1, and then Kairo comes out of nowhere, concerned and kind of eavesdrop on them.
Mm-hmm.
This entire episode is just like, I get it. She's in love with him. You don't have to keep on beating that in my head.
But Kenshin has a moment where he seems like he might have feelings for her too, because the way he vows to like defend her, and like he says, "I'm never gonna let what happened to Regine ever again happen to you." And he says there might be trouble in the dojo, and he kind of like squares up with her, like so that she understands what's really going on. But like he seems very serious when he says that he's not gonna let what happens like happen again.
No, I get all that. I'm just more referring to this as probably the third time they did this gag.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I get it. She's in love with him, and it's probably concerned that he reciprocates those feelings. You won't probably get information about that until much later. But like, we get it. She's in love with him. You don't have to keep on her. You don't have to keep on like with the whole. There's another woman with this man alone. Like, I'm curious what's going on in there. Sonosuke literally goes on to assure her that you have nothing to worry about. They're not in there talking about anything like about like romance, whatever. They're in there trying to like come up with a plan. She's like calming down, and then Kenshin walks out, does what you exactly just said, that he wants to protect her, make sure that nothing happens like that to her again with Gine. We find out that there's the group of people. You already mentioned the amount of people that exist in the army. I guess before all that, Kenshin, as he's coming up with this, the plan of what's going to happen, or how many people are in his army, he asks Megumi again to tell him what's her connection with this opium, and again, as a spoiled brat would, sticks her tongue out at him and says like, that's none of your business. I was just, man, this girl, like, her personality flipped on a dime.
Mm-hmm. She's very savvy too.
Huh?
She's very savvy. She tells a lot of half-truths, where what she's saying is technically true, but not really like the spirit of the truth.
Yeah, then apparently she's also concerned that like these people that she's put her faith in aren't strong enough to, or at least Kenshin isn't able to defeat the army that's coming, and she's gonna make a book for it when the chaos drops. After all that in her mind, she apparently sees Yahiko, who apparently is underneath the dojo like porch area
since nightfall, which means like 15 hours.
He was underneath there. Apparently Sonosuke didn't see him there. Like, I was like, that doesn't really mean much, but yeah, because like, I heard there's danger. Aren't I a part of Team Kenshin too? And then all Kenshin has to say is like, Team Kenshin, when did that get formed? I was like, I'm like, dang it, Kenshin, why you have to do that? I was like,
he really means it too. He's like, what?
He's like, what is that for? And like, they're all arguing about who's gonna be involved and whatnot. And then Megumi has a moment where she's remembering her family. Looks like she's the youngest of what appears to be maybe 2 children, and she had maybe 3, but and had a mother and father. We don't know what they look like because all we see is her as a little girl and with her family. So I'm guessing she's like getting a little bit more, trusting with these guys. And then all hell breaks loose. They hear an explosion in the front of the dojo gate. I have to say, this place is getting attacked a lot.
Yeah, it's become quite a happening place.
Like, the front gate attack gets blows up, and then Sonosuke and Kenshin both run to the front, wondering what's going on, and then we just see this big silhouette of a giant man step through.
So, I need to ask you something, and I'm not kidding about this. I know it's going to sound like I'm just trying to cause trouble. Is that thing at the bottom of his body his belly button or like his penis? At 2050.
I don't know if I want to look at this after that question.
Started 2050. He makes his appearance around 2058. There's a little thing sticking out. And I honestly can't tell you if it's a penis or a belly button. I really hope it's a belly button,
I think
but
for the age rating, that's definitely a belly button.
belly buttons don't go there though. Like if your body was sagging down like that, your belly
This
button would
guy, have
be.
you looked at this man's physique? It's not normal.
I know, but like your belly button isn't down where your hips are. Like it's not where your jean line is. And if you look at the way it's colored, like with the little dark tip and the, you know, and there's even like, I don't know, it looks more. Its location is more like where a penis would go than where a belly button would go, and it's shaped more like a penis sticking out than a belly button.
That's a belly button. I don't think this is like a
I
PG
want
13.
it.
This is a PG-13 show. I don't think we can get away with
I
penis.
want it. I want it to be a belly button. I'm not saying that. I want it to be very badly. Want it to be a belly button, but I think it might not be.
That's a belly button. I don't care what kind of head cannon you have.
We're gonna go ahead and say belly button, but I don't think it is.
Like, is it like this guy's physique is not normal? First of all, like when I did see
It's
when
normal. His stuff goes where his stuff is supposed to go. It's not so abnormal that like he has like toes on his head or something.
It also could be possible that maybe he's got a sagging gut that juts out, and that's why the protrusion is where it's at.
Really trying there, my friend.
But I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Really, I'm being real about it. Like, it looks like his gut could just be sticking out because, first of all, he's like, is that really? And the worst part is like he's not really obese. It's just he's got a giant gut.
He's built kind of like a sumo wrestler, kind of like that could potentially be some sort of like sumo wrestler style build, where he's got some padding, but he's actually very strong.
But here's the problem with that. I see his pants, and like, why would his penis be sticking out the top? That's just like the whole like idea that that's being his junk.
I mean, if it was going straight up, have you ever been in high school, man?
Yeah, but my penis is never like stuck out the top of my pants.
I'm not saying it's ever stuck out the top of the pants, but like I'm saying, like I don't know. I had dilemmas in high school that weren't unlike that.
Here to hear, folks. Apparently, when
Where it
John
went
was in high
straight up,
school,
and
his
I'm like,
tip of his penis was sticking out his pants.
no, it got uncomfortable. If I had like gym shorts on or something, sometimes it would get uncomfortably close. It never go all the way or anything, but it was uncomfortable. It was like a little closer than I would have liked.
On past that whole, I don't know what that was. We're just gonna ignore that part of his physique until it becomes important for something later. I sure hope it doesn't.
I sure hope it doesn't too.
This guy is
It
like,
would make him pretty offensive though. And
I
like
thought you were
said,
gonna ask, is this man like an animal or something, like, or like are we dealing with an actual like xenomorph or something? I thought that's what you're gonna ask, like, is he human or something? Like, I honestly I was gonna fight for the he's a human thing, but I wouldn't really have much of a leg to stand on. He's probably the most unhuman looking design we've seen yet, and that's saying something because we had that rat looking guy or that behemoth guy from earlier.
I mean, he kind of looks pretty much human to me.
His skin tone is like certainly red. I can't even imagine like what in the world, like, and the episode ends there of a cliffhanger, quote unquote. After that man with his belly button or junk breaks through the front door.
I'm sorry that like I know like again I know that it sounds like something I would say as a troll, but I saw it and I genuinely wanted to know if that was what was going on or not.
I'm gonna say that's his belly button. I've seen more absurd placements of certain body parts, and considering that guy is a very large man, by the way.
Like I said, everything else is where it should be. Like his teeth are where teeth
He's
go.
he's a very large man. That's what I'm gonna say. I think that's a belly button.
Very large in more ways than I think you think.
And it ends there, and he's laughing as he bursts through their defenses, which wasn't really much of a defense. Again, this dojo is like, they do mention that like this place is gonna be really dangerous in the next few. It's like, you know, it's like I was like, are they gonna relocate people that can't defend themselves, or what's gonna happen here? They weren't able to do any of that. That Kyra's gonna have to, like, I guess, be somewhere where she's safe and whatnot, or she's gonna get involved in the fray. Who the heck really knows? This is a really interesting setup for another, like, I guess what's gonna be a longer than what we've seen a story revolving around Megumi and whatever her involvement with this gang is. They got to the point really quick, and now we're in it. I guess I don't really much about this. Like, I just, like, I find it. I feel like I remember that guy though, that tall man. I feel like I remember him involved with something. I don't remember what that is. So again, I can't really dig in that memory vault. But Yoshi Shinomori, I will remember that name for later.
Alrighty.
What?
I said alrighty. The next episode is the Anwu-Basu strike, so I'm guessing the next episode is completely dedicated to this fight that's coming on with the three of them.
Might just be looking at that big man, unless, though it's possible considering his size. Maybe he isn't really the threat that they had to be concerned with. Maybe he's carrying the real threat. Before I click this episode, and he's like, hey, oh, you're not fighting me. The real fight's on my back. Let me just turn around real quick.
But they said that he was, who was it? Hanya and Hitoko were coming as, like, helpers, right?
No, I think Yoshi told him he was going to send 2 helpers. I don't think he mentioned who they were.
But that's the 2. Bashimi was getting 2 helpers, Hanya and Hitoko. The
Did he name them?
Seemingly invisible one is Hanya. And then Hitoko was the other henchman that was coming. Hitoko's name is the kanji for fire and man. So he this guy looks like he probably fits the definition of someone that's supposed to be the kanji for fire and man, given that he's red and
But did he name Hanyo?
Yeah. At 1512 or so.
He says that he's asking Hanya for his whereabouts. Oh, I thought he was referring to 2 unnamed people. I guess I wasn't paying attention that he told him to follow.
Yeah, so those are the.
Well, I mean, he must be on his back then. He must be on his back.
The invisible guy, the huge guy, and the cat-eyed guy, I think, are the 3 that we have to worry about here.
He must be on that giant man's back. I mean, I feel like he'd be big enough for that kind of transport. I mean, a man that big would be able to have like a couple of strides. He'd probably be inside like outside of a building within two steps. I'm sorry, I'm gonna talk about this man's size. I just like he's the biggest guy you've seen at this point, both height and width. So it's just... I wonder if that guy's based on anybody. Like if somebody actually literally had red skin, I wouldn't be shocked based on the history of this world, but still.
I looked at the background of every single name in this, and I couldn't find anything. Every single time a new name comes, I look it up, and I didn't see anything for him.
Okay. Based on the way the way he looks, I wouldn't be surprised he didn't exist. So I mean, I guess it wouldn't be too realistic for the guy this big to actually exist. Because he's a sumo wrestler build. I just can't imagine somebody walking around with just 4 teeth. I know it's possible, but it's just like one of those, like, Jesus, they purposely did that. It's like it wasn't like an accidental thing. They actually purposely designed them that way. Yeah, with that, next episode of our review is the Oniwa Bashu strike. It's gonna be interesting to see like what this guy's gonna do because he burst right through the gates. And, you know, no problem. Then again, those gates really aren't the most secure thing, so it is what it is. I feel sorry for this dojo. I hope Kairo's like grandfather's work doesn't get destroyed in the middle of all this. Uh, Judging how I know Kenshin likes to preserve his surroundings, I suspect that it won't. But well, we'll see what happens. And we got like Sonosuke help out here too. So if those two are in fact on his back, well, like, they will definitely be really helpful. And to make sure I didn't miss anything at the end of the episode, I didn't. Thank goodness. I guess with that, we'll end it here. Unless you got something else to say.
If I was a vegetable, I would be a carrot.